Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening, thanks for joining us. Tasmania's mask mandate has been lifted tonight for hospitality, all retail and other sectors across the state. It's welcome relief for businesses, and Public Health has flagged more restrictions could be lifted in the coming weeks.
For hairdressers like Gabby Barber, wearing a mask has made it tough to engage with her clients.
When you're actually doing the client's hair and you can't see their face, you can't see, that's part of my job, is trying to work out what suits someone's facial structure, but I can't see their facial structure.
As of an hour ago, the mask mandate was scrapped across hair salons, retail and hospitality, bringing relief for businesses and easing confusion for many.
If people can just know that there's a set rule and it's not changing here and tomorrow they are, or this place they don't and this place they do. So I think my main thing is just people are very confused.
But the rules remain in place for hospitals, aged care homes and other high-risk settings, as Tasmania recorded more than 1,100 new cases overnight. The Director of Public Health says mask wearing is still recommended.
While you are no longer required to wear masks in many settings, I still strongly recommend considering wearing a mask while COVID is relatively common in the community.
If a business has run a risk assessment and believes that it needs to put in place other measures itself, then it can.
Tasmanians can expect to see some further changes to restrictions in the next fortnight as Public Health deliberates removing density limits and the Check-in Tas app for high-risk settings.
My colleagues and I are constantly looking at what further settings we need to consider removing, and density is obviously one of them. But I think we need to give it not to make any changes in the next 2 weeks.
Offering a glimmer of hope that life will return to normal before we know it. Ainsley Kosh, 7 Tasmania News.
Meanwhile, more than 5,000 Tasmanians have potentially avoided a hospital visit through a program helping manage COVID symptoms from home. The pandemic-driven incentive is now expanding its capacity as the state transitions to living with the virus.
Off the ward and into the office, these healthcare workers show they can do it all, offering assistance to those in isolation.
Sometimes if you can get out in a bit of sunlight too, so it's nice in the afternoon, it's good for your mental health as well as...
As borders were flung open in December, the COVID at Home program was born, designed to help Tasmanians like Georgina Taskunas come to terms with contracting the virus.
When I tested positive, I burst into tears and I was really, really nervous about what was going to happen to me because I'm an asthmatic.
Placed at higher risk, she was delivered a package equipped with a phone, thermometer and pulse oximeter.
Whenever those alarms went off, I just connected my little finger up to the oxygen meter, did my temperature, and then all the data just went across onto the phone.
Behind the scenes, staff have the capacity to help close to 500 people a day.
We got a lot of response in our recruitment drives. We've been able to get a lot of support from people working casually, picking up extra shifts who already work in the hospital. So there hasn't been, we've had the support when we needed it.
Typically have some, 20 staff that are here in our environment, and actually we're going to have to move our COVID at Home team because we're really bursting at the seams, at certain parts of the day.
Easing pressure on the hospital system, the virtual service is proving its longevity as part of the pandemic response.
I think there's also scope that we can continue with a virtual THS into the future, looking after other conditions.
The state's own health commander and her daughter benefiting firsthand from an initiative she helped get up off the ground.
To note that, with her asthma, that it wasn't getting any worse and that we could speak to a clinician and just make sure that everything was okay, and we were comfortable then recovering at home.
Grace Evans, 7 Tasmania News.
The Premier has revealed he is a survivor of child sexual assault, telling his distressing story for the first time. Peter Guttmann opened up about his experience at the hands of a former teacher and revealed his story has been a key part of his motivation to establish a commission of inquiry.
I haven't spoken to anyone about the motivations behind why I crossed the floor in 2002, why I feel so passionate about having this commission of inquiry and once and for all getting to the bottom of these matters, but they are very personal.
Victims, survivors of child sexual abuse can share their stories as part of Tasmania's Commission of Inquiry until May 1. And if this story has caused viewers any distress, support is available through Lifeline. The cost of fuel has exploded across Tasmania, with the average price climbing almost 20 cents in a single week. The shock numbers putting extreme pressure on weekly budgets and biting at the margins of local businesses.
The numbers are sky high and so are the tensions.
Ludicrous. Very disappointing. I think we're being gouged.
Fuel prices, once unimaginable, now a frightening reality. Tasmania's average cost at the bowser soaring by 18 cents in a week.
It is unprecedented and it's going to hit low-income earners hardest.
Ahead of the long weekend, it climbed by the hour. One service station started the day at $2.20 a litre. By afternoon, it was almost 8 cents dearer.
That's the way it is at the moment. Hopefully it's only short term.
Though it may not be, a double blow of supply issues and the Russia-Ukraine war triggering the petrol panic.
Our federal government should have prepared us for this a long time ago. We should be doing our own oil.
With predictions it could reach $2.50 or even higher. Local transport companies say it's putting extreme pressure on already razor-thin profit margins. They've had to increase freight rates to survive. The Civil Contractors Federation claims the original tender prices for huge infrastructure projects is now wildly undervalued. They want government support.
Just a recognition that the goalposts have moved significantly, fuel price increase can wipe margins out.
The RACT has no clear idea when motorists will see relief, but did say that shopping around can save you as much as 20 cents a litre.
Although things are going up so quickly, there's no guarantee by the time you get there, you're going to get the best price.
The fury over filling up won't be going away anytime soon. Garth Burley, 7 Tasmanian News.
Welcome back. Thousands of residents between Penguin and Heybridge have access to clean tap water for the first time in 2 days after TasWater lifted a boil alert. The order was put in place on Wednesday after the White Hills treatment plant suffered faults causing quality issues. The company said the health risk was low and the measures were only precautionary. More speed cameras and mobile phone detections will hit Tasmania's roads if the RACT gets its way. In a submission ahead of the state budget, the peak motoring body said those measures would help shed our nation-low safety record. It also wants a fleet of 16 mobile speed cameras. The Civil Contractors Federation wants to see the state government continue to spend more on infrastructure projects. A coroner has recommended the speed limit be lowered for Launceston's southern outlet to 70 kilometres an hour after investigating a fatal 5-car pile-up from 2018. Pauline DeWitt died when the disability taxi she was in collided with another vehicle. The 53-year-old was in a wheelchair at the time, and Coroner Robert Webster has also advised State Growth to review requirements for carrying passengers with disabilities. Vineyards across the state are preparing for this year's vintage, with the first grapes having been picked this week. The highly anticipated harvest comes with our wine in high demand after some producers sold out last year.
At Delamere Vineyard, rows and rows of grapes are primed for picking. Harvesting of vintage 22 begins this Wednesday.
Vintage is the culmination, ultimately, of a year's worth of work.
It's a crucial time of year with a huge amount of planning.
We spend a lot of time doing crop estimates and then what are we going to make with that fruit. So we also have to go back and look at our stock levels of all of our wines, what the demand is for all of them.
They're expecting an average yield this year. The warm summer came as a blessing after a cool, wet spring, but the product will still fetch a small fortune, with Tasmanian grapes soaring in value, worth 4.5 times that of those on the mainland.
It's harder, it's more expensive, it's more risky for us to grow wine grapes here in Tasmania than just about any other wine region in the country, but we do it because we can therefore get this amazing quality.
And it seems crazy to many mainlands industry people who come down here to see the level of intensity that we get involved in. You know, there's leaf plucking, shoot management.
Andrew Peary employs every possible technological innovation he can at his vineyard to produce a top drop. Checking sugars and soil chemistry is all part of the norm.
On my phone, I've got a set of graphs giving soil moisture, rainfall, and it's telling me what's happening 1.5 metres below the vines, halfway up the hill.
Tasmania's reputation is translating to visitation, with 1 in 4 interstate travellers stopping by a vineyard. While our wines are in high demand, they're not the only drawcard. The vines themselves are at their luscious, vibrant best at this time of year, and celladors say this is one of their busiest periods.
Having winemakers on site that I can talk to and the staff can talk to and potentially visitors can talk to see what's happening and see what the quality is going to be like.
Pouring everything into becoming the wine capital of Australia. Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmanian News.
Young Tasmanian athletes will be offered mental health support through a new program. Local advocacy group Speak Up Stay Chatty launching its junior sports program for players aged 10 to 16, running alongside its efforts for senior athletes. It involves free 45-minute education sessions for clubs to explore mental health issues such as stress and anxiety.
If we can play our part in better educating them around their emotions and how they might be feeling, showing them also where they can get support for that, I think it's just such an important thing in today's society.
I think it's just recognising that normalising these sorts of things, stress and pressure in sport that we talk to, giving kids strategies to be able to deal with that.
Free 60-minute sessions are also available for parents and coaches. A new fun and speedy activity for people living with physical disabilities is making its mark in Tasmania. Those of all ages able to give framing running a go, with hopes the sport will take off.
Riding a bike and running at the same time. 9-year-old Hannah out there having a spin, a wonderful sight for her parents.
Just seeing her have a go here and a bit of independence, it's kind of nice to see that and something that she can do on her own.
Hopping on a frame runner, a tricycle-style device with the seat and armrests, but no pedals. These races really picking up some speed.
This is my first time going in one, so I'm still getting used to it. But yeah, it's pretty much just like a bike.
Frame running, allowing those living with disabilities to gain physical freedom.
For the kids to be able to go for a run with their friends or walk their dog or walk with their parents. So yeah, and self-confidence, when you're active, you're confident and you want to do more stuff.
Used as a leisurely activity or competitive fast-paced racing interstate, all while keeping everyone active and included.
Again, it's just giving them the opportunity to participate with their friends, their family, and just have that sense of competitive. I think everybody's got a competitor inside them somewhere, and this is a way that the kids can actually compete.
Pros, so they have a bit more variety and a bit more independence. That makes me feel like part of a community and just lets me be free.
Paraquad Tasmania has also trialled the frame runners at Ulverston and Launceston. Ruby Kamain, 7 Tasmania News.
A painting of Port Davey in Tasmania's wilderness, inspired by lockdowns and global warming, has won this year's Glover Prize. The artist says the scene's breathtaking beauty helps her reconnect with nature.
The moody colours of a setting sun are overshadowed by the mammoth mountains towering above. Fragile nature, one worth protecting, is what Victorian artist Jennifer Riddle conveys through her work.
Me being there, it really spoke to me and I guess it was kind of raw and primal.
Titled Wanderings of the Past and Now, the work is set in Port Davey's Bathurst Harbour in Tasmania's southwest wilderness, as free from lockdown shackles as you can be.
And also, I think it's just a sense of empathy for the land.
The patchwork of perspectives from the 42 finalists came in all forms, from the good boy surrounded by chaos to the wet T-shirt competition which the artist once witnessed in Bridgewater. He recalls when contestants went on stage, someone in the crowd yelled out, "Go Mum." Most, however, leaned on natural beauty, with the pandemic providing a common theme.
There's definitely a strong sense of calm and reflection and people being homebound.
Jennifer's life as an artist began when her sister passed away. Her parting advice was to pick up a paintbrush. Now Jennifer's a Glover Prize winner.
She really gave me the courage to paint. Through that, I found that the landscape was healing to me.
These places of peace, healing to all. Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News.
The state's newest police officers will be on the beat after completing their training course. The majority will be stationed in Hobart, with new recruits to also work in Launceston and Burnie.
raising their hats to the end of formal training, as these 22 recruits celebrate a major milestone.
It's been 7 months of training, so to be able to graduate now has been a really special day.
Entering Police Academy doors with merely a dream, today marching out the other side as fully fledged constables after a tough 31 weeks of training.
It's been very tough on me mentally and my family as well.
It was pretty vigorous with fitness and academic side of things, also the operational skills side of things, just to make sure that we keep ourselves safe out there.
But the preparation was well worth it to make our streets safer.
They'll do everything they can for you and they'll step back, and if you're struggling with something they'll fight to get you through it, whereas I thought it would be a lot more militarised.
Among those stepping into the line of duty next week is the Ducks Award winner, who left behind a pharmacy career to follow in a loved one's footsteps.
I got a lot of my inspiration from my stepfather, who's a member of the Queensland Police.
While others have always dreamed of a spot on the force.
Always wanted to, from a young age, join.
While Tasmania Police welcomes the new recruits, it encourages anyone interested to take the leap and join the force.
We always need more people with the government commitment with extra police officers for the state, so we're actually working hard to make sure we meet those numbers.
Give it a go. Everyone here was so supportive of us through the whole process.
Brianna Boylan, 7 Tasmania News.
Hobart's Caleb Jewell will spend at least the next 2 seasons in purple. The batsman will add to the 30 games under his belt for the Hurricanes after inking a new contract. Averaging 17 runs a game, Jewell admits he didn't make as many runs as he would have liked last season, but hopes to improve now there is some longer-term security over his future. And the Tasmanian Tigers have thrashed South Australia in the WNCL by 5 wickets. Elise Villani top scored with 63. Amy Smith took 3 wickets. The Tigers are now second on the table. Tasmania's best in soccer are gearing up to compete for the ultimate title. Teams will assemble at Darcy Street on Monday, vying to take home the Summer Cup. South Hobart will take on the Kingborough Lions in the men's final, as well as the Clarence Zebras in the women's competition. Coaches and players from both sides have spent the last week fine-tuning their game plan.
What time does the men's game start?
I guess if we have certain players lining up against us in certain positions, how do we want to approach that? So yeah, I think we're more in that strategic space now than we were a few weeks ago.
It's a home game for us, so yes, it's an advantage in that respect, but it's a cup final and I think it'll be best team on the day gives themselves a good chance of winning the match.
All the action kicks off from 10:30 and Football Tasmania is encouraging spectators to come out and enjoy match day. And tonight's Friday Flashback is dedicated to the King of Spin, Shane Warne. We've dug out 2 clips from the archive, his rubbishing of New Zealand in Hobart early on in his career, plus a charity match at Port Arthur where he suited up against the Tasman's best local players. Passengers aboard the New Spirit had a glimpse of what was set to be a disastrous few days for New Zealand. The Kiwis' depleted bowling stocks had no help from the slips. They could only watch as David Boom passed 6,000 career runs in front of Tasmanian fans. Michael Slater raced to 168. As the Aussies made a mammoth total, the breeze picked up around Bellerive to the point of absurdity. They even removed the bails because they kept blowing off.
It's not often you see that.
Sadly for the tourists, there were no winds of change. Warne made sure of it. His figures of 3 for 36 in the first innings were bettered in the second, notching up an incredible 6 for 31, including the sealer to see New Zealand beaten by an innings and 222 runs.
And that's it. It may be alive as a series, but this match is dead.
A record loss for New Zealand at the time, and still the Aussies' biggest win over the Kiwis.
I'm very disappointed in the overall sort of the feelings throughout the team after day one, really.
And away from his usual stomping grounds, Warne also graced the grandness of Port Arthur when it hosted a charity match following its harrowing episode.
It was a tragedy down here, so get the community together and just have some fun out here and hope the public enjoy themselves.
With the likes of Mark Taylor and James Hird by his side, Warne took on a team of local players strung together for the game. Unsurprisingly, the Australian side smashed their rivals, whacking an astonishing 347 off just 25 overs. But the score didn't matter, as locals cheered on everyone in the David and Goliath battle, which raised $50,000, and had Warne walking away from the game with that trademark grin.
Good evening. Temperatures range from -1 at Lyowini to our high today of 23 in Launceston, Hobart and Devonport 20, Burnie a top of 21. Smithton, Friendly Beaches and Ouse all 22, Flinders Island 21 today, Grove 20, King Island, Low Head and St Helens 19, Strawn 18 degrees. Cloud extended across most of the state during the afternoon, just a spattering of a shower over the west coast. 1 millimetre at Strathgordon was all we had between 9 and 3. Most of the mainland clear today, but of course clouds still about the coastal areas of Victoria, New South Wales and Queensland, and some thunderstorm activity over the far north and west of the nation. Tomorrow a second high moves to our east, the next low off the southwest of Western Australia. Winds tending variable tomorrow at 5 to 15 knots, west to northwesterlies over the south with a 4 metre swell. Forecast, Hobart for Saturday, partly cloudy and 23, 20 for Maydena, partly cloudy and 19 the high for Oatlands. Launceston 25, partly cloudy, bit of cloud for Devonport, fine, and 21, 18 the high for Lyowini. Burnie 22, mostly sunny, bit of cloud for Strawn, but fine still, and 21 degrees and 20 for Marrawar. St Helens partly cloudy and 22, 21 the top for both Swansea and Orford. UV has been on a run of 7s this week and that will continue tomorrow. On Sunday, fine and mostly sunny, Launceston 27 degrees, mainly fine in the west on Monday with drizzle over the east increasing to showers and then extending to the rest of the state, Hobart 18, and on Tuesday more showers across the state, less so over the west. Partly cloudy in Perth, a sunny 29 in Adelaide, Melbourne fine, 25 and a shower for Sydney, and partly cloudy weather for Brisbane. And cloudy here as well, it's 18 in Hobart, 19 in Launceston, 18 in Devonport. And Kim, a bit angry with myself actually. So busy lately, I forgot this was a long weekend coming up. I didn't take myself off the roster and now I'm working Monday.
You've had enough time off. I'll see you Monday.